Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm Andy RC and today I'm going to do a range test of the Hubs and H107D Plus that I reviewed earlier on the channel. Now the winds have calmed down just enough for me to get a flight in, but it is still a very miserable and windy day, and today I'm going to do a range test of the Hubs and H107D Plus that I reviewed earlier on the channel. Now the winds have calmed down just enough for me to get a flight in, but it is still a very miserable and windy day, and it's very muddy as well. So what I plan to do is fly the quadcopter as far away from me as I can, where either I start to lose video or control range, and then hopefully fly back to myself so I don't have to walk across this muddy field. Now the original H107D was quoted as having a 50-meter range, but in fact, if you modified the VTX antenna to go vertical, you got more of a 100-meter range, which is really impressive for its price point. Now, it is quoted for the Hubs and H107D Plus that it has 100 to 150 meters of range, so let's see how it fares. So those trees at the back there are at the 120 meter mark, and so let's fly forward and see what we get. And disappointingly, I'm at the 50-meter mark, and I start to put yaw and aileron in, and the thing drops, and it turns around, and it just regains control enough for me to fly it back. That is so disappointing. It has that standalone antenna for the 2.4 gigahertz. It just doesn't seem to do anything at all. In fact, you would say that it's got less range than the original H107D. Now, I did that test a couple of times previously to this as well, and it cut out every time at that point. Now, I know that with my Hubs and H107D, the original, I used the Spyhawk transmitter, which probably did give me a lot more range. In fact, when I coupled that out with my Wi-Fi booster, it covered the range of the entire field, and that became the basis for my long-range aircraft, the micro-quad that was done on the channel previously. We can't use the Hubs and Spyhawk transmitter with this one. However, it does seem that this quadcopter is using the same transmitter chip as the original. It's just they've altered the protocol. And what is going to happen, or hopefully will happen, is the Deviation TX guys that do all the modding for the Devo 7E, which allows us to bind to Hubsan models and all sorts of other types of micro RTF quadcopters. They're currently trying to hack this protocol, so fingers crossed they're able to do that, and then we can use the Devo 7E transmitter and perhaps get a little bit of better range, or just a nicer transmitter, because it's not a very nice transmitter, this, for the Plus version and the non-Plus version. I just don't like it at all. Yeah, so I was flying around. It was about dusk time, and when I got the footage back, I thought, oh my god, that is blurry, and it is. Just look at that. Look in the back there, it's blurry. I didn't notice that on my original review. I think it's because I didn't get a decent enough flight in because the weather was terrible. And the weather's still terrible here, but look how blurry that is. And I thought, oh, maybe I've knocked the lens on the camera or something like that. But no, you can't. It's all one unit. It's all glued in. So it looks like I'm going to have to dismantle the thing and see if I can adjust the lens so we can get something more in focus. And again, I did just think it's the low light that's doing this. But then when I watched the footage back and I did my landing, I could see that everything that was close into me was in focus, and everything far away was out of focus. So yeah, that's just really disappointing. Now, you are able to get a good focus out of this camera. It's basically a copy of the H107C's 2-megapixel camera. You have to mess about a lot when you put the wide-angle lens from the 808 on it, but once you've got it, you can get a really nice clear image, and we definitely don't have this here. Look at that. The entire thing is out of focus. So again, it's quality control with Hubsan. I think if you buy this from a retailer, which most people will be doing, they're going to be so disappointed and return it back. And the problem with taking this thing apart as well is these little camera boards don't like to be moved. When you take any Hubsan apart, usually the camera module is fixed in really securely, and that is because if you move them about, and trust me from experience here, the ribbon breaks, and there are no spare parts for this thing. But to me, I can't use this footage. Sure, I could give it back to the retailer. They give me another one and probably have the same problem. But I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to take the thing apart and see if I can salvage anything, by maybe ungluing the lens. I believe it's going to be the 808 size lens, that's the M7 lens, so it's going to be a little easier fine-tuning this one, hopefully, because on the H107C camera board, obviously there's no FPV input, unless you do my hack that's on the channel, of course. So hopefully I can get a fairly bright day, point it at something in focus, and it'll tell me whether that has been successful or not. I think this is where I do my landing, and this is where I could see that there was a problem. Just look at this. Look how in focus the pavement is, and look how out of focus the background is. So there you go. That is my range test on the Hubsan H107D Plus. Very disappointing, I think you'll agree. But thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.